Identity politics has penetrated every workplace in the West in 2023. From race to gender to social class, these have all divided the workplace with competing factions that look for power in the office. And this whole concept of identity politics is effectively replaced competency or meritocracy. And the days of a politically neutral office culture are long gone. And this video, I will provide you with a survival guide to navigate those tricky office politics at work. Typical political messages that you will have to deal with when you are in the corporate environment that you can expect if you do get hired at a bank. There's a lot of focus on race. For example, Black Lives Matter was a big issue or a big topic of corporations in 2020. And then also there's a lot of focus on racial equality, but that doesn't work to the benefits of certain demographics. For example, if you are Asian or if you're coming from a white background, sometimes you're not on the receiving end of some of this racial equality agendas, hiring practices, and promotion practices. And then also there's a lot of focus on gender in terms of identity politics at work. For example, there's a lot of networking groups and initiatives for promotions and hiring again when it comes to women in the corporate environment. But conveniently, there's not a lot to benefit men when it comes to the workplace environment. So that's something to be conscious of. There is an element of classism because based on what class you come from, working class, middle class, upper class, you'll have different life experiences, go to different universities, go to have different hobbies and lifestyle and practices. And if you're not maybe from the upper class, you might not be the type of person to go on skiing trips, which is quite popular in the banking industry. There might be some challenges when it comes to networking and socializing at work if you're not part of one of those. Just live the typical lifestyle of someone who comes from the social class that would be typically preferred in the corporate environment. So when it comes to dealing with these type of office politics, identity politics, how could you best deal with that? And how would you build a lucrative career in the investment banking industry, given those type of scenarios? Now, there's really 3 points to consider here, right? The first point is around staying neutral. You don't want to get dragged into the identity politics because unless you're on one of the preferred sides, you probably won't benefit. Typically the identity politics doesn't work to the benefit of men. It doesn't work to the benefit of Asians. And I'm, ethnically from an Indian background and obviously I'm a man. So, you're not on the receiving benefit of the gender empowerment or the racial politics that come in. So I would say avoid getting dragged into that and try to be conscious of who's the winning side today might not be the winning side tomorrow. So, for example, you saw in 2020 there was a lot of focus on Black Lives Matter and BLM and things like that. And then recently we've seen some media articles that are not so favorable to them. So if you get too caught up on one side or the other, you might be on the winning side today and the losing side tomorrow or in a few years. So it's best to remain neutral and not get too caught up in those type of identity politics. Also, if these topics do come up, you can just say, based on my particular religious beliefs or race or gender or social class, I don't want to get dragged into this. It's not kind of in alignment with my beliefs. So not only can you be neutral, but you can mention your own race, religion, and things like that, and saying, I don't want to get involved in that type of identity politics. It's not in agreement with what I believe or my particular religious or racial beliefs. So it's kind of important to be neutral and avoid getting too dragged into those type of identity politics. Other thing I wanted to say is just focus on work. Unfortunately, as I say, with all this focus on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the identity politics I've been discussing in this video, you want to try to focus on the work because at the end of the day, regardless of all those circumstances and the kind of rigged game of hiring and promotions, you want to focus on your work and have divert conversations back to work. So if someone brings up a controversial topic in the news around identity politics, you can just remain quite neutral, listen to them, and then get back to workplace topics and say, oh, well, how's that project going? Or can we progress on this? Can we organize a meeting on this other topic? It's good to do that. And if, non-work topics do come up, I would always try to keep them quite lighthearted, maybe what hobbies the co-workers have or what TV show they're watching, things like that. So you avoid getting dragged into the very tricky world of identity politics. So there you go. Those are three top tips. Number one is staying quite neutral when it comes to identity politics, mentioning your own race, gender, or social class to avoid getting dragged in and saying it doesn't quite align with what you believe and you'd rather not discuss it. And then number three is just focus on your work. At the end of the day, that's all you can do. And if you want to move ahead in the corporate environment and you're not one of the chosen genders or races or political beliefs that they're favoring, end of the day, you can only do your best in terms of working hard to succeed on the basis of your ability, on competency, meritocracy, to what extent that still exists in the finance industry. So thanks for listening. On your screen right now, you have two relevant videos that will be very helpful for you and a free ebook in the description. So you can check that out. And I look forward to speaking with you in the next video.